Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. 10 things you didn't know about the penis. You know, most people don't talk about it, but it's about time we do. The penis. Yeah, that word alone probably made half the room tense up. But stay with me, because this isn't about embarrassment. It's about honesty, curiosity, and maybe learning a few things that will surprise you. We've been conditioned to treat this part of the body like it's either a punchline or something we can't talk about. But it's just a body part, one that happens to hold an incredible amount of cultural weight, personal identity, and myth. So today, we're stripping away the mystery and talking about 10 things you probably didn't know about it. First, it actually begins forming long before you even know who you are. Around 6 weeks after conception, every embryo starts out with the same basic tissue. Then hormones come in and decide whether that tissue becomes a penis or a clitoris. Structurally, they're almost identical, different paths from the same blueprint. I love that fact, because it reminds us that the divide between male and female anatomy isn't as sharp as we pretend it is. Second, it's not a muscle. Most people assume it is, because of the way it moves and responds. But there isn't a single muscle inside it. It's made of soft, spongy tissue that fills with blood. That's it. So, no, you can't do push-ups or curls for it. But what you can do is take care of your cardiovascular health, because blood flow is everything. Eat well, move your body, manage stress. Your heart health and your sexual health are connected more than you realize. Here's another one. Morning wood. Yes, that's the scientific term most of us use, but in medicine, it's called nocturnal penile tumescence. It happens during REM sleep, and it's not always about desire. It's actually the body's way of making sure everything's in working order. Think of it as a nightly systems check. The body's saying, let's make sure this equipment still functions. Now, this next part might surprise you. The penis is actually one of the best indicators of overall health. Erectile dysfunction can be an early warning sign of cardiovascular disease because it's all about blood flow. When things start changing down there, your body is whispering that something might be off. The smart thing to do isn't to ignore it out of embarrassment, it's to listen. And let's talk about size. Because this topic has been twisted into something ridiculous. The truth is, there's a huge range of what's normal. Length, shape, color, curve, all of it varies. There is no standard. The average erect length is about 5 inches, not the exaggerated images people are flooded with online. What really matters isn't size, but confidence, presence, and communication. Because the most powerful sexual organ anyone has is their brain. Here's something else people don't realize: it can break. Not like a bone, because there's no bone in it, but if it's bent too hard or in the wrong way, the tissue can rupture. It's called a penile fracture, and if that happens, you'll know. So, a little mindfulness goes a long way. Passion is great, but safety is sexier than a trip to the emergency room. Another strange truth: it sometimes has a mind of its own. You've probably heard that joke before, but it's actually true. Erections can happen as reflexes, without any sexual thought at all. It's part of the nervous system. It's not mood or desire, it's biology doing its thing. Then there's the conversation about circumcision. For decades, people have debated whether it changes sensitivity. The research shows that the difference is minimal. What matters more, what always matters more, is connection, trust, and comfort with your partner. Sensation isn't only physical, it's emotional. And here's something people rarely think about: the penis isn't just a sexual organ. It's deeply tied to how many men define their worth. Culture tells them that this one part of their body is a measurement of their power, their masculinity, even their identity. But that's a lie. Your worth isn't attached to your anatomy. It's in your character, your kindness, your courage, and the way you show up in the world. So, when you strip away the myths, the comparisons, the shame, and the jokes, what you're left with is something simple, a body part that deserves understanding, care, and respect. Learning about it doesn't make you crude, it makes you curious. Talking about it openly doesn't make you inappropriate, it makes you human. The truth is, the more we understand our bodies, the less power shame has over us. We stop comparing. We start connecting. We start realizing that the human body, in all its strange, funny, complicated glory, is something to be grateful for, not embarrassed about. So maybe the biggest secret isn't about biology at all. Maybe it's this: real strength isn't in what you're born with. It's in how you carry yourself. How you communicate. How you love. That's the kind of power that doesn't fade, doesn't shrink, and doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. Let's start with something most people never learn in school. We all begin from the same blueprint. In those first few weeks after conception, before chromosomes and hormones take charge, every single human embryo starts out looking exactly the same. There's no male, no female, no clear separation, just a tiny, undifferentiated body getting ready to form. Then, around the 6th week, a surge of hormones decides the direction things will go. If testosterone levels rise, that shared tissue begins to form what becomes a penis. If estrogen takes the lead, that same tissue becomes a clitoris. It's the same structure, just a different expression of it. Think about that for a second. The parts we so often treat as opposites are really variations of the same design. It's biology's way of saying, we're more alike than we are different. That fact alone has the power to shift the conversation around gender and anatomy. It reminds us that our bodies aren't binary machines. They're fluid, adaptable, and far more connected than culture gives them credit for. The penis and the clitoris share nerves, tissue types, and even embryonic origins. Both are built for sensitivity and pleasure. Both are proof that nature doesn't waste a good idea, it just evolves it in different ways. Understanding this doesn't just teach us science, it teaches us empathy. When we see how connected we truly are on a biological level, it becomes harder to build walls around difference. The blueprint of our bodies tells a bigger story, that at the most basic, cellular level, we're all cut from the same cloth. One of the biggest misconceptions about the penis is that it's a muscle. It's not. You can't flex it, lift weights with it, or work it out, like you can a bicep. What actually happens is far more fascinating. It's hydraulic. It works on pressure, not power. Inside the penis are two main chambers of soft, spongy tissue called the corpora cavernosa. When a person becomes aroused, the brain sends signals that cause blood vessels to open up, allowing blood to rush in and fill those chambers. As they fill, veins that normally carry blood away are compressed, trapping the blood inside. That's what causes an erection. It's not a muscle flexing, it's fluid dynamics in action. Now, why does this matter? Because it means that your cardiovascular health directly affects your sexual health. The same arteries that carry blood to your heart and brain are the ones that carry blood to that part of the body. If your circulation isn't great, if your arteries are clogged, if you're stressed, smoking, or not moving enough, it's going to show up there first. In fact, doctors often say that erectile problems can be an early warning sign of heart disease. So, when you take care of your body, when you eat well, exercise, and manage stress, you're not just improving your stamina or energy. You're literally improving your hydraulic system. And here's the empowering part. This isn't about performance, it's about connection. The body works best when the mind, heart, and blood are all flowing freely. A healthy heart, a calm mind, and a balanced lifestyle are the true secrets behind confidence and vitality, not muscles, but movement. Most people think that morning erections are all about desire, but that's not actually true. What's really happening is one of the body's most natural maintenance routines. The scientific name for it is nocturnal penile tumescence, a term that sounds complicated but simply means nighttime erections. These happen during REM sleep, the deepest stage of dreaming, and they're not necessarily connected to sexual thoughts or stimulation. They're biological, automatic, and essential for keeping the body healthy. Here's how it works. During REM sleep, the brain releases certain neurotransmitters that relax the muscles around blood vessels. That allows more blood to flow into the penis, filling the erectile tissue. This increase in blood flow nourishes the cells, keeps the tissue elastic, and ensures that everything stays in working order. It's like a self-check system, the body's way of saying, let's make sure everything is still functioning properly. It's also a sign of good nerve and blood vessel health. Regular nighttime erections mean the pathways between the brain, the spinal cord, and the blood vessels are communicating well. That's why doctors often ask about morning erections when checking for erectile dysfunction, not to embarrass anyone, but to understand whether the issue is physical or psychological. And here's the important takeaway. These natural processes aren't something to laugh off or feel awkward about. They're a sign that your body is doing what it's supposed to do. It's not about lust or fantasy, it's about biology. The body takes care of itself in ways we rarely even notice, and this is one of them. The next time it happens, think of it as your body's quiet way of saying, all systems go. The penis is often thought of purely in terms of sex or reproduction, but in reality, it's one of the most accurate indicators of overall health. Think of it as the body's early warning system. Because an erection relies on blood flow, nerve function, hormone balance, and mental well-being all working together, even a small disruption in one of those systems can show up there first. In other words, if something's off in your health, your body often sends the first signal below the belt. When blood vessels start to narrow from plaque buildup or poor circulation, early signs of heart disease, the smaller arteries that supply the penis are the first to be affected. So, if someone suddenly experiences weaker or less frequent erections, it can be an early symptom of cardiovascular problems that haven't shown up anywhere else yet. Doctors actually call this the canary in the coal mine effect for men's health. It's your body whispering that something needs attention long before it starts shouting in the form of a heart attack or stroke. But it's not just about the heart. Erectile changes can also reflect issues with hormones, especially testosterone, or even be linked to stress, anxiety, or depression. When you're mentally overloaded or emotionally shut down, your body feels it too. The penis doesn't lie, it mirrors how well your entire system is functioning. The message here isn't to panic over every fluctuation, but to pay attention. Your body is intelligent and always communicating. If you listen early, you can make changes, eat better, move more, rest, connect, and heal. Treat those signals not as embarrassment, but as valuable feedback. Your health is talking. The smart thing to do is listen. For generations, men have been taught, directly or indirectly, that their value is somehow tied to size. It's a belief fueled by movies, locker room talk, and a culture that confuses exaggeration with truth. But here's the reality. Size does not define worth, masculinity, or the ability to satisfy a partner. Science has said it, psychologists have said it, and most importantly, experience proves it. The average erect penis measures around 5 inches long, far from the inflated images plastered across adult media. But here's the thing. Satisfaction in sex has very little to do with length or girth. It has everything to do with confidence, presence, communication, and emotional connection. A partner who feels seen, safe, and cared for will remember the experience of being desired, not the measurement of what's between your legs. When someone ties their self-worth to a number, they create a battle they can never win. There will always be comparison, insecurity, and anxiety. But when worth comes from character, from how you show up, how you listen, how you connect, that confidence radiates through everything you do. True attraction is emotional and psychological before it's ever physical. What society rarely admits is that body anxiety affects everyone, not just women. Men, too, have been sold unrealistic expectations that leave them feeling less than. It's time to stop measuring value in inches and start measuring it in integrity, kindness, and courage. Because when you carry yourself with confidence, when you own who you are without apology, that's what makes you magnetic. Size fades from importance the moment connection takes over. The truth is simple but powerful. Worth isn't measured in anatomy, it's measured in authenticity. Let's be honest, when it comes to size, most people's expectations are completely distorted. For decades, movies, television, and especially pornography have created a false standard of what's normal. The reality: the average erect penis measures around 5 to 5.5 inches long. That's it. Perfectly functional, perfectly healthy, and perfectly normal. But because of what people see in media, many men grow up believing that anything less than 8 or 9 inches is inadequate, which couldn't be further from the truth. These unrealistic portrayals have done real damage. They've made countless men feel insecure and countless partners develop skewed expectations. The truth is, those exaggerated examples are statistical outliers, less than 1% of the population. Yet they're treated like the standard, which leads to body image anxiety, performance pressure, and even depression for those who think they don't measure up. But here's what research consistently shows: size plays only a minor role in sexual satisfaction. Emotional connection, trust, communication, and understanding each other's needs matter far more. Most nerve endings responsible for sexual pleasure are located within the first few centimeters of the vagina or clitoris, meaning that beyond a certain point, size doesn't even make a physiological difference. What truly matters is attentiveness, creativity, and confidence. When we finally strip away the myths, what's left is relief, the realization that you don't have to fit an impossible image to be desirable or capable. Real people, real bodies, and real intimacy look nothing like what's been sold to us on screens. Normal isn't what media shows, normal is what's human. Once you accept that, comparison stops, confidence grows, and connection becomes real again. It sounds shocking, maybe even impossible, but yes, the penis can actually break. Not in the way a bone breaks, because there's no bone inside it, but the spongy tissue that fills with blood during an erection can rupture if it's bent too forcefully. This is called a penile fracture, and it's one of those medical emergencies that no one ever wants to experience but everyone should know about. It usually happens during vigorous sex or sudden movement, when the penis slips and bends at an unnatural angle. The tissue tears, blood leaks out, and a loud cracking or popping sound can often be heard. Immediately after, the erection disappears, and intense pain and swelling follow. As dramatic as it sounds, it's important to talk about it, because awareness prevents injury. Many men don't realize that while the penis can handle a lot, it's not indestructible. Certain positions or movements that involve deep thrusting or sudden changes in direction increase the risk. The best protection is mindfulness, paying attention to your body, communicating with your partner, and not letting ego override safety. What's even more important is knowing what to do if it happens. A penile fracture isn't something that heals on its own. It requires immediate medical attention, usually surgery, to repair the torn tissue and restore function. Ignoring it out of embarrassment can lead to long-term problems like curvature, pain, or permanent erectile issues. This topic might make people laugh uncomfortably, but beneath the humor is a real lesson: respect your body. Passion is powerful, but it shouldn't come at the expense of pain or injury. Real confidence isn't about pushing limits, it's about knowing them, and caring enough to protect what matters most. It sounds shocking, maybe even impossible, but yes, the penis can actually break. Not in the way a bone breaks, because there's no bone inside it, but the spongy tissue that fills with blood during an erection can rupture if it's bent too forcefully. This is called a penile fracture, and it's one of those medical emergencies that no one ever wants to experience but everyone should know about. It usually happens during vigorous sex or sudden movement, when the penis slips and bends at an unnatural angle. The tissue tears, blood leaks out, and a loud cracking or popping sound can often be heard. Immediately after, the erection disappears, and intense pain and swelling follow. As dramatic as it sounds, it's important to talk about it, because awareness prevents injury. Many men don't realize that while the penis can handle a lot, it's not indestructible. Certain positions or movements that involve deep thrusting or sudden changes in direction increase the risk. The best protection is mindfulness, paying attention to your body, communicating with your partner, and not letting ego override safety. What's even more important is knowing what to do if it happens. A penile fracture isn't something that heals on its own. It requires immediate medical attention, usually surgery, to repair the torn tissue and restore function. Ignoring it out of embarrassment can lead to long-term problems like curvature, pain, or permanent erectile issues. This topic might make people laugh uncomfortably, but beneath the humor is a real lesson: respect your body. Passion is powerful, but it shouldn't come at the expense of pain or injury. Real confidence isn't about pushing limits, it's about knowing them, and caring enough to protect what matters most. Circumcision is one of those topics that's surrounded by myths, debates, and strong opinions. Some people worry that it drastically reduces sensitivity or sexual pleasure, but research shows that the difference is minimal. The foreskin contains nerve endings, yes, but the parts responsible for the majority of sexual sensation are located in the glans, or the head of the penis, which remains intact. That means that sexual pleasure and sensitivity are largely preserved, regardless of whether someone is circumcised. What matters far more than anatomy is connection, communication, and comfort. Sensitivity isn't just physical, it's emotional, psychological, and relational. How attuned someone is to themselves and their partner has a far greater impact on sexual satisfaction than whether the foreskin is present. Studies consistently show that circumcised men report similar levels of sexual enjoyment as those who are not circumcised. So while culture and personal beliefs may influence how people feel about the topic, the body itself adapts and continues to function fully. It's also important to recognize the broader perspective. Circumcision, like many medical or cultural practices, is deeply personal and influenced by tradition, religion, or parental choice. The key takeaway is that it does not define sexual identity or ability. Sensitivity, pleasure, and intimacy are multifaceted experiences, rooted in the mind and emotions as much as the body. Understanding this frees men from unnecessary anxiety or shame. It allows them to focus on what truly matters: building trust, communicating desires, and being present with their partner. Anatomy is just one part of a much bigger picture. The foreskin, while biologically interesting, is not the measure of sexual capability or worth. True satisfaction comes from attention, connection, and confidence, none of which require a debate over tissue. For far too long, society has told men that their identity, masculinity, and self-worth are tied to the penis. It's a message reinforced through media, jokes, and even casual conversations, and it's harmful. The truth is simple: your anatomy does not define who you are. Masculinity isn't measured in inches, girth, or performance. It's measured in character, empathy, integrity, and how you treat the people around you. The penis is a part of the body, an important and fascinating part, yes, but it's not the sum total of a person. Identity is shaped by values, experiences, choices, and relationships. How you respond to challenges, how you handle stress, how you communicate and show care, these are the traits that truly define a man, not the size, shape, or function of his genitalia. This perspective can be liberating. When men realize that their self-worth isn't attached to anatomy, a huge weight lifts. Performance anxiety fades. Comparison becomes irrelevant. Confidence grows from authenticity instead of measurement. And intimacy transforms. Sexuality becomes about connection, not proving something, because the pressure to perform or measure up is gone. Moreover, this mindset encourages respect for others. When identity isn't tied to anatomy, men are less likely to judge or compare. They understand that everyone's body is different, and that respect, consent, and emotional presence matter far more than superficial traits. Ultimately, understanding that the penis is not identity allows men to step fully into themselves. It frees them to pursue life with courage, curiosity, and compassion. It reminds them that worth is found in actions, character, and authenticity, not in a body part. Your identity is yours, independent of anatomy, and embracing that truth is one of the most empowering steps a person can take.